State of Business on Art Television. I am Soundri Javardhana. Let's look at the headlines first. South Asia lacks proper fiscal room to maneuver counter-flexible policies, says World Bank's chief economist. Frontline Socialist Party stresses that President Gotabaya Rajapaksa cannot put the central bank bond scam case under the carpet. News in detail. World Bank's chief economist for South Asia, Hans Timmer, states that the South Asia lacks proper fiscal room to maneuver counter-cyclical policies, which are the strategies by the government to counter boom or recession through fiscal measures. Addressing a public lecture on global economic outlook and challenges with a focus on South Asia organized by the Central Bank of Sri Lanka in Colombo yesterday, he also noted that high growth in Asia is still improving massively.
The big problem in South Asia is there is no fiscal room to really engage in counter-cyclical policies. That's almost true for every country in South Asia, because basically most countries have engaged in pro-cyclical policies in the past, and instead of building up buffers during good periods, the opposite happened. And so that's also for Sri Lanka a challenge to be dealt with going forward. There is objectively a reason for fiscal stimulus, but at the same time there is not enough room to actually do that fiscal stimulus, and then you have to be very careful that you get the balance right, because if you overstimulate and you don't have the room, then instead of stabilizing the economy, you could potentially destabilize an economy because you are hurting the sentiment in a country. So that's a big challenge at the moment in South Asia, not just for Sri Lanka, but high growth is still the natural development for the region. So let me go to that second topic. Why do we think that high growth is possible? Most countries are in a phase of economic dividend, where a larger share of the population is of working age. So that means that many people can produce a lot, that creates a lot of growth.
Speaking further, Hans Timmer also highlighted that the high growth in South Asia can never be guaranteed, since the South Asian countries have to grapple with many inherent issues in the attempt to be developed.
Why do I think that it's not at all guaranteed that South Asia will realize that very high growth? And I think that is because to achieve that, you have to address some of the big structural challenges that you're facing. And it's not completely sure that the region sees the urgency and has the commitment to go all out to address those challenges. Any fast-growing country has a problem in managing its cities. You have congestion in cities. It's an enormous challenge to have the right city planning. And ultimately, you have to solve that, because before you can continue to grow on a sustained basis, you can't have clogged cities all over the region. Another example is that it's very difficult to create energy security when you grow very fast. And every fast-growing country has struggled with that, but it is a problem that has to be solved. The same is guaranteeing access to water, which is even more difficult for South Asia, because most of the countries are very vulnerable to climate change. 3 of the 5 most vulnerable countries to climate change are in South Asia. And then finally, we have seen it in many places, you have air pollution and other environmental constraints. So those are problems that always comes with growth.
Answering as to how the government will cover over 500 million rupee loss that will be incurred from the tax concessions, State Minister Keheli Rambukwala says the government will increase the GDP of the country in order to mitigate it, as they did the same in former President Mahinda Rajapaksa's tenure. State Minister made these observations addressing a media briefing in Colombo yesterday.
Now what happens? Our taxation was 1 trillion. It was increased to 2.3 trillion. By way of concessions, we are now losing about 500 million. Well, still left with 1.5 trillion. So if you manage the country and the people were comfortable with 1 trillion, we will be more comfortable with 1.5 trillion, even if we have slashed down taxes considerably and for the people to be benefited. That's one. Number two, when Mr. Mahinda Rajapaksa assumed duties as the president in 2005, the GDP of the country was $20 billion. We raised it to $82 billion. Now, when the taxation is based on that, if the taxation is 10% for hypothetically for 20 billion, then you will get 2 billion. But if you raise your GDP to $80 million, then if you put 5% tax instead of 10%, you are still collecting $4 billion. So that simple theory will be practiced by our experts in the financial sector.
Frontline Socialist Party Politburo member Puputu Jayakoda says that the prorogation of the parliament just few hours before the forensic report of the bond scam to be presented in parliament paves the way for the citizens think really who won the presidential election. Addressing a media briefing in Colombo yesterday, FLSP Politburo member Jayakoda said that the decision had indirectly assisted former Prime Minister Ranil Wickremesinghe, and at the same time President Gotabaya Rajapaksa cannot move away from punishing the persons who involved in the bond scam.
2015 ජුනි මාසයේ විසුරුවා හරින ලද පාර්ලිමේන්තුව විසින් හදපු කෝප් කමිටුවේ දිව්ගුණසේකර
The COPE report by then MP Div Gunasekara in June 2015 revealed that former Prime Minister Ranil Wickremesinghe has intervened and is responsible for the bond scam. However, before it was presented in Parliament, then President dissolved the Parliament. We also noted the Parliament sessions were repeatedly postponed and finally the Parliament was dissolved. Then, both the COPE committee and the report went neutral. That report clearly mentioned that Ranil Wickremesinghe was responsible for this fraud. However, the latest report handled by MP Sunil Handunnetti does not say that the Ranil Wickremesinghe is responsible or accountable for this. The facts which were revealed by previous report were not included in this report. It carries a number of names of officials but the name of Ranil Wickremesinghe. Therefore, if someone says the findings which are available in the present report can be used in future, that is a logic which has no base. MP Div Gunasekara also thought so and revealed those findings before media. What then Prime Minister did was challenging him before court for revealing parliamentary related issues before media. This is nothing but play the game with keeping the cards open. No one is hiding anything. Everyone knows what's happening.
මේ කවුරුත් මේ හංගනව නෙවෙයි. කොහොමද දන්නව මොකද්ද වෙන්නේ කියලා.
Stay tuned for more news after this break. Welcome back after the break. The Global Reporting Initiative and International Independent Standards Organization rang the bell in the Colombo Stock Exchange in celebrating the 2 years of collaboration with the CSE. Australian High Commissioner David Hawley, Senior Coordinator of GRI South Asia, Rubina Pal, Sustainability Manager of ITC Limited, Ankit Gupta and many other distinguished invitees were present at the event.
The proliferation of sustainability reporting bolsters the stability and resiliency of markets, and GRI has played a key role in the growth of the practice. The GRI sustainability reporting standards help companies communicate their ESG impacts to capital market players, including investors, data analysts, market regulators, and stock exchanges. Since 2017, GRI and Colombo Stock Exchange worked closely to successfully organize series of workshops, sessions, high-level engagement, roundtable, and developed resource material like the ESG guidance document to support the listed companies in Sri Lanka. We are confident that this collaboration would go a long way to strengthen corporate transparency in the region.
Moreover, speaking at the bell-ringing ceremony, Australian High Commissioner David Hawley stressed that the collaboration of the Global Reporting Initiative, which is an organization that helps businesses understand and communicate their impacts on issues such as climate change, human rights and corruption with the CSC, shows the world that Sri Lanka is fulfilling its commitment on improving the sustainable growth.
Business can be good for the environment. And I think with sustainability reporting that GRI is a world leader in, it can show not only the shareholders but the broader community as to what the company is doing. This helps with its investment, it helps with its broader public relations, but more importantly, it puts it on the global map that companies here in Sri Lanka can show and demonstrate to the world at a time when issues of climate and other wicked problems, ones that we need to be addressing. Sri Lanka is part of the solution. The Colombo Stock Exchange, by partnering with GRI, is showing that it sees a vision for its members and those that are listed on the exchange to be part of a global sustainable solution.
Sri Lankan Airlines, the national carrier of Sri Lanka and a member of the One World Alliance, won the prestigious world's leading airline to the Indian Ocean title once again at the grand final gala ceremony of World Travel Awards in Oman recently. Thus, the airline was also nominated for the titles World's Leading Airline, World's Leading Airline Business Class, World's Leading Airline Economy, and World's Leading Cultural Airline. The airline has been defending the title since 2016, and in October this year, the airline won the Asia's leading airline to the Indian Ocean title at the WTA Asia Oceania ceremony. The other contenders to the title were Air Austral, Air France, Air India, Air Seychelles, Air Asia, British Airways, Emirates, Etihad Airways, KLM Royal Dutch Airlines, Lufthansa, Qatar Airways and Turkish Airlines. The other award winners were One World Alliance, Dinata, JW Marriott, Changi International Airport, Hilton London Heathrow Airport in England, Bear Grylls Survival Academy, Armani Hotel Dubai, United Arab Emirates, Atlantis, The Palm, Dubai, UAE and Star Clippers. Thus, Sri Lankan Airlines Chief Executive Officer Gunatilaka said this award reaffirms the success of the airline's consistent efforts to establish a consolidated presence in the Indian Ocean region and that its global connectivity across other key regions has invariably made it a popular choice of travel to and from the Indian subcontinent via the Colombo hub. Coordinator of Ministry of Trade in Turkey, Hakan Karbalik, says Turkey is one of the ideal countries of which Sri Lanka can improve the trade relations since it has moved forward in the section of easiness to do business in the World Bank's report Doing Business. Addressing the Turkey Your Next Destination for Business presentation held in Colombo last Monday, he went on to explain the business culture in Turkey to the local business community.
In World Bank Doing Business report regarding the easiness of the doing business, Turkey ranked 33rd. Before that, 3 years ago, we ranked 69th. So, it's a great success to move forward. In Turkey, you will find complex and well-developed banking and transportation facilities. With its robust growing economy, Turkey has a strategic location and liberal investment environment. It has young and skilled labor force. Doing business with Turkey is challenging. It's easy but challenging. Why? Because the competition is very tough. You will find foreign competition, not only domestic competition in Turkey. There are many foreign companies operating in Turkey. That's why you need to have a long-term and strategic approach when you are doing business with Turkey.
Stay tuned for stock updates after this break. Welcome back after the break. Trading at Colombo Stock Exchange ended on a negative note today. The all-share price index dropped 8.59 points to close at 6,206.40 and the S&P SL20 dropped 17.71 points to close at 3,031.77. The turnover was 824 million rupees and over 35 million shares were traded. Up next are Forex trades. That's all news for today. Do join us tomorrow with State of Business. Until then, take care. Good night.